widow of Black Bayou, a horror story. At the edge of a small Louisiana town called Merrow's Landing, where the Mississippi bends into a slow black bayou, stood an old two-story house with a wraparound porch that had seen better decades. Jason Cole and his wife, Claire, had lived there for almost 2 years. They bought it cheap, fixed the roof themselves, and for a while, their life together was quiet and good. Then, slowly, Jason began to notice something was wrong with his wife. Claire had always been talkative, the kind of woman who filled a room with laughter. But over a few months, she grew silent. Almost every night, long after Jason had gone to bed, she'd stand out on the balcony for hours, gripping the railing, staring down at the black water of the bayou like she was listening for something only she could hear. Her wardrobe changed too. She started wearing a faded red dress almost every day, the same one, over and over. And around her wrist, she wore a pale bracelet made of bone-white shell that clicked softly whenever she moved. And Claire, who used to wrinkle her nose at the smell of fish, started eating it constantly. Raw, cooked, it didn't matter. If Jason forgot to stop by the market for catfish, she'd snap at him until he drove back out to get it. Jason told himself it was stress, a phase. He didn't know what else to call it. One night, he woke to the feeling of something gnawing at his shoulder. He shot upright, heart pounding, but there was nothing there. Just Claire, sleeping peacefully beside him like nothing had happened. In the morning, his neck and shoulder throbbed. In the bathroom mirror, he found deep bite marks pressed into his skin, like something with teeth far too sharp had been feeding on him in the dark. That was the night Jason started being afraid of his own wife. A few nights later, a sound from the kitchen tore him out of sleep. A wet, tearing, chewing sound, like an animal at a carcass. Claire's side of the bed was empty. Jason. Steady, words that didn't sound like any language Claire recognized. The flame in the bowl began to shudder even though there was no wind. Margaret picked up one of the studded lemons and squeezed its juice over the bound hair. "The binding is sealed," she said. "It's done." Claire was never the same after that night. The fear that had lived in her chest since childhood thinned out, day by day, until there was nothing left of it. Something else moved into the space where it had been. The same flatness Claire had seen in her mother's eyes her whole life. Soon she was the one kneeling in the courtyard after midnight with black thread and ash, and Margaret would watch from the porch with the quiet, satisfied look of a woman who had finally made something in her own image. Claire believed her mother had invented all of this recently, just for her. She had no idea how old it really was. 26 years earlier, when Margaret married Robert Ashworth, she'd been a different woman entirely, soft-spoken, obedient, almost timid. Robert's family ran the largest textile business in 3 counties, and his mother, Eleanor, ran the household like a courtroom. Every purchase was questioned. Every silence was suspicious. "You spend how much on groceries this week? Did your own mother teach you nothing about money?" Margaret said nothing back, not with her mouth. That night, she waited until the house was asleep, then slipped into Eleanor's room and pulled a few silver-gray hairs from the older woman's brush. In the backyard, under a sky with no moon, she did, for the first time, what she would one day teach her daughter. By the next morning, Eleanor's voice had changed entirely. "Buy whatever you like, dear. You don't need to ask me." It was the first time Margaret had ever smiled and meant it. From there, it spread through the house like rot through a beam. A thread of Robert's hair, a scrap from his father's coat pocket, ash worked into the family's morning coffee. Within months, the entire household bent around her. No one questioned her anymore. No one dared. "Margaret, whatever you decide, that's what we'll do." There was no version of her life now that anyone in that house would push back against. She bought jewelry, furs, a new car every other year, and no one so much as blinked. Once, a neighbor caught her in the yard late at night, crouched over a small fire. "Margaret, what in God's name are you doing out here?" Margaret only looked at her and smiled. That night, screams came from the neighbor's house. Within weeks, the woman fell suddenly, mysteriously ill. She was dead before the month was out. After that, nobody in Blackthorn Hollow ever asked Margaret Ashworth a question again. The marriage. Claire grew up wrapped in everything money could buy and taught, quietly, that need was for weak people. You didn't ask, you took. Claire, if you want something, don't ask for it. Learn to take it. Mom, that's not right. Margaret said nothing that day, but she made a decision. If the girl wouldn't learn willingly, she'd be taught the way Margaret had once been taught, by circumstance, by force, dressed up as guidance. Not long after, something found its way into Claire's food. Within days, her fear had dulled, her questions had stopped. One night, Margaret led her out to the courtyard herself. Now you'll understand what power actually is. That was the night that opened this story, the night Claire watched her mother work the binding on her, and believed, wrongly, that it was the first time either of them had ever done such a thing. Within the year, Claire married into the Whitfield family. Old money, a sprawling house on the hill, a name that meant something in 3 states. To Margaret, it wasn't a wedding. It was new territory. Remember, Claire, this isn't just your house now. It's your hunting ground. Not just your husband. The whole family should answer to you. Claire only nodded. There was nothing behind her eyes anymore that could have argued. For a while, the Whitfield house seemed ordinary. Then, one night after everyone had gone to sleep, Claire crept down to the kitchen, took a pinch of powder from a small paper twist, and worked it into the flour tin. By evening, her husband Daniel, a man who had once tracked every dollar the family spent, had changed completely. Whatever you need, Claire, just take it. She didn't stop there. Night after night, she collected something new, a strand of her mother-in-law's hair, a scrap from her father-in-law's coat, a comb from her brother-in-law Nathaniel's room, and carried them up to the widow's walk on the roof to repeat the same ritual under the stars. Within weeks, the whole household had reshaped itself around her. Nathaniel, who'd always kept his distance from her, started hanging on her every word. Her in-laws deferred every decision to her, and the spending never stopped. New jewelry, new cars, parties every weekend. This much spending isn't sustainable. That night, Claire performed the ritual again. The next morning, spend whatever you want. The money will come. Slowly, relatives began to notice something was wrong. Something isn't right with you people. You've all changed. That relative, Daniel's uncle, had a car accident within days of saying it out loud. After that, no one in the extended family ever set foot in that house again. Back at her own house, Margaret watched it all unfold through Claire's calls and felt something like pride swell in her chest. The turn. Time moves strangely for people who think they've beaten it. Robert grew old. His business slipped through his fingers. Where there had once been no such thing as too much money, now every dollar had to be counted. The one thing that never changed was Margaret's appetite. She still wanted the same life. The furs, the jewelry, the extravagance. But the money to fund it had dried up. So she turned to her daughter. Sweetheart, that necklace I saw, I'll buy it for me, would you? Claire always gave her what she asked for. The money, the jewelry, whatever it was. But something in Margaret broke a little more each time. She had built all of this with her own hands. Living off the scraps of it now, through her daughter's charity, was more than her pride could bear. Robert started to notice. Margaret, where's all of this coming from? Who's giving you this kind of money? She went quiet for a moment, something dangerous moving behind her eyes. Do you need to know every single thing? After that, Robert kept asking, and that made him the single biggest threat to everything Margaret had built. She didn't strike directly. She used the method that had always frightened her the most, because it left no mark, no trace, nothing anyone could point to. A slow poison, folded quietly into his meals every day. I don't feel like myself lately. Something's wrong. The days passed. Robert took to his bed. One night, weak and frightened, he looked up at her. Margaret, what's happening to me? She only watched him. No expression at all. Within days, Robert was dead. Now Margaret was alone, and for the first time in decades, entirely free. She made a decision. She would go live with Claire. The Whitfield house was already hers in every way that mattered. Daniel, her in-laws, none of them so much as blinked when she arrived. But Margaret hadn't come to visit. She'd come to rule. Within days, she began working on Daniel the same way she'd worked on everyone else. A comb full of his hair, a scrap from his coat, and then the ritual over and over until, whatever you say, Mother, that's how it'll be. Daniel no longer listened to his wife. He listened to Margaret. One evening, Daniel, I want that necklace. I need money. Claire, you're spending too freely. This necklace is for your mother. She needs it. Claire froze. This wasn't the Daniel from that night at all. Mom, did you do to Daniel what I think you did? Margaret only smiled. What's yours was always mine to begin with. Something in Claire finally cracked open. Not fear this time, but rage, pure and cold. Get out of my house. Whatever you need, I'll give you. But stay away from my husband. Stay away from my family. Margaret's expression twisted. You're throwing me out? This house is mine now. The following week, another death rocked the household. Claire's mother-in-law fell suddenly, violently ill, and died within days. Claire knew exactly who was responsible. Margaret had already moved further than that. I'll be staying here now, with your father-in-law. She was planning to marry the very man who was, by every ordinary meaning of the word, her own daughter's father-in-law. Claire saw only one path left. She struck first. One night, she slipped poison into her father-in-law's food. Within days, he too was dead. Margaret understood immediately whose hand this was. And from that moment, the only thing left in her was vengeance. She turned everything she had toward Daniel. The same slow poison, the same dark ritual. Within days, he was bedridden. Claire, what's happening to me? And then he was gone too. Claire shattered. But grief curdled fast into something harder, colder, and it found a new target. She turned to Nathaniel, who by now would do anything she asked. Do you know what happened to your brother? No. My mother killed him. And not just him. Your mother, your father, all of them. Every death in this house was my mother's doing. Nathaniel's breathing turned ragged. Fear and fury moved across his face in equal measure. All of it for money. So this house, this fortune, would belong to her. That night, Claire made her decision. Margaret would not survive what came next. Every night after that, Claire climbed to the widow's walk. Black cloth, ash, lemons, a lock of her mother's hair, stolen from a hairbrush weeks before. She was performing a working meant to end in nothing less than death. Margaret was no ordinary woman, and she felt the shift long before she understood it. The sense that the game had finally turned against her. One night she stepped out into the courtyard for air and looked up. Claire was climbing to the roof. What is she doing up there at this hour? She followed, silent, up the back stairs. On the widow's walk, Claire sat inside a full ritual circle, murmuring words that had grown heavy and strange in her mouth. Let the one who gave life meet its end. Let everything she took be returned. Margaret understood at once. This working was aimed squarely at her, but she had never once, in her whole life, known how to lose. That same night, she began her own ritual. She took an old bracelet of Claire's, a few strands of her hair, and sat down in the courtyard below. Let the girl I taught lose her own mind tonight. Let her memory, her reason, all of it, drift away. It was a working meant to shatter Claire's mind completely, so she would forget everything and never be capable of this kind of magic again. That night, two rituals ran at once under the same roof. One aimed at death, one aimed at madness. The air in the house grew thick and wrong, and the whole structure seemed to groan under some invisible weight. Upstairs, Claire's working reached its close. She opened her eyes and looked at Nathaniel. It's time. Take this to her. Nathaniel rose without a word and walked to Margaret's room. Inside, the room was dark. Margaret lay exhausted on the bed. He crossed to the water glass on the nightstand and stirred in the ash, silent, and slipped back out. A while later, Margaret drank the water. She didn't sleep that night. Over and over, she felt as though someone were standing just behind her, watching, as though someone were leaning close to her ear. Return now. By morning, the house had gone eerily still. Margaret lay in her bed, unmoving, perfectly at peace on the surface, but her eyes were open, wide with something that looked, unmistakably, like terror. Downstairs, Claire climbed back up to the widow's walk. spot where she'd finished her ritual the night before. But the moment she reached it, something in her stopped short. Her eyes went blank. Why did I come up here? Her mind had come apart completely. There was nothing left in it now. Not the magic, not her mother, not the vengeance she'd spent weeks building toward. Just emptiness. In that house, everything had finally run out. The money, the family, whatever had once passed for love between them. Margaret was dead. Claire was alive. Neither of them had won anything at all. Whatever power that magic seemed to offer, it never really gave anyone a thing. It only took